which were the earliest strata, and that is more certainly historical than the later developing legends that come to go with it. And I've shown that just as Mel Gibson has taken a certain literary license and read things into the story from the Old Testament, the New Testament writers have done the same thing. They did not necessarily record what historically happened to Jesus, but they recorded sometimes what they thought should have happened because it seems to be prophesied so in the Old Testament. So Mel Gibson has the serpent in the garden because he knows from Genesis that the Son of God will crush the head of the serpent. And so he shows us it's happening. The gospel writers, in a similar way, knowing that crucified persons were nailed, have Jesus nailed. They know that was scourged, have Jesus scourged. So all of the worst scenarios they have put together to show that Jesus, in fact, was actually physically dead. But the earliest strata, like in Mark's gospel, for example, shows that there was a doubt that Jesus actually died on the cross. Pilate doubted this, but Pilate, of course, had an interest in saving Jesus. So was the centurion working under Pilate, and perhaps other of his cohorts as well. And so I think the best solution to this that would make sense to both Muslims and Christians is that in some way, God miraculously rose Jesus. Even though the enemies thought they had killed him, their purpose was not satisfied. But God's purpose, in fact, is what was satisfied. And after all, we do not have to prove that Jesus rose from the dead in this miraculous manner. We don't have to prove that Jesus was rescued from death, because Muslims do not believe his death was the death of an accursed person. If he did die, he died under false accusations from others who are under the curse of God or can be under the curse of God for their false way of dealing with Jesus. But on the other hand, Jesus' teachings are self-evident, and they're still with us. In the reconstructed Gospel of Q, for example, we have beautiful sayings of Jesus which are still found in Matthew and Luke's Gospel. We have the prayers which tells us to forgive others and to ask God to forgive us as we forgive those who sin against others. We have the teachings that say, love your enemies as you, and what do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Jesus was a great man, and his entrance into Jerusalem, historians think, was under the certain knowledge that he would be put under crucifixion, or that he could be crucified. His bravery in entering Jerusalem is an inspiration for all religious reformers who want to do something good, who want to bring about change, and are facing heavy obstacles. The idea of taking your cross up and following Jesus does not mean taking a physical cross, but it means bearing dangers for the sake of what is good. That is an inspiration both for Christians and for Muslims, for all people who would read the story of Jesus and reflect on him. I do not believe that the greatness of Christianity hinges on the crucifixion and resurrection, nor do I believe this was the central teachings of Jesus. It was Paul who made it so. But if we go back to the earliest teachings, we find Jesus' teachings to be an inspiration for everyone, and I want to continue to be inspired by these teachings and hope that you would be too. I believe that these teachings have culminated in the final revelation which Muslims believe in the Quran, and it is that by which I am committed to live. I want to thank you again.
If I heard the first part of that summary right, I guess we resolved the debate. Jesus did rise from the dead. We're just not sure he was crucified. Maybe that's the next question, where there seemed to be the significant difference. But again, agreement, although what that resurrection means, or from what, I guess, is